Shalom. First off, I want to give all honors, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Yahweh is the Hebrew name for the Heavenly Father. Bahashem is Hebrew, translated means in the name. And the Hebrew name for who the world calls J-E-S-U-S. His name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, which means he is the Savior. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone GMS and rule well. Shalom to the elect. Salaki dealing with the 144,000, and to all you brothers that push this truth to the four corners of the earth, may peace and mercy be bestowed upon you, and may the Lord bestow you a spirit to endure, because we are almost out of Babylon the Great. But I and the brother Halalyum from the Great Millstone GMS Chicago camp, and this lesson is going to be about, the war and the world of politics between the Democrats and the Republicans due to the Biden-Harris administration trying to surrender themselves under the United Nations. So I'm going to let this video play and pause and interject with scriptures, and Lord will, this lesson is edifying to those who are listening and learning.
Well, thank you for being here today for our press conference on what I describe as the most important issue that's getting the least amount of attention relative to its importance in our country. And like many other issues, we're going to be deciding on November 5 what kind of a country we're going to be, and it applies to this issue as well. President Trump had withdrawn the U.S. from the WHO, and of course the Biden administration, like every other disastrous decision they made, reversed those policies when the Biden-Harris administration got in charge. Well, later this week, the UN is going to hold a, quote, summit for the future, and they're going to produce, this is right from their website, an intergovernmentally negotiated, action-oriented pact for the future with a chapter on transforming global governance.
So they're about to have a meeting to transform, to quote-unquote transform the global government. And what is that talking about? That has to be talking about this new world order. Because the fire is slowly but surely being kindled inside of Babylon the Great, man. And slowly but surely, our government is declaring war on the citizens by way of bringing in these foreign entities, including these migrants, which is why you have them taking over. Hey, the migrants have completely taken over the Midwest, man. They're in Colorado, Chicago, Ohio. All of these migrants are coming in, and guess what? They have on Jordans. They have on nice clothing. Who do you think gave them that? Who do you think gave them these houses where they don't have to pay any rent? There's a video about this YouTuber that met up with these Haitians that were in what was that place called? Springfield, Ohio. And they said and those Haitians said that they didn't even have to pay rent in the house that they were living in. So America is slowly but surely declaring war on its own citizens because the fire is being kindled. This is the book of Luke. This is the book of Luke, chapter 12 and verse 49. And it says, verse 49, it says, I am come to send fire on earth. And what will I be if it already be kindled? So the Lord is coming to send the fire upon Babylon the Great, but the fire is already kindled because there is so much tension in between the government and in between the people. Because you have the government that's falling behind the global elite, which is why all of these Band-Aids were being introduced, and now people are dying from these shots because they were because doctors are now coming out saying that they were told to purposefully, unalive people with these shots. But now they're having all of these foreign entities have more influence upon America and are allowing them to watch and surveillance American citizens. Let's resume the video to hear some more of what this man is saying.
Ascending beyond the powers being sought by its subordinate agency, the WHO, the UN is seeking even broader and more powerful authority, as you will hear a lot about today.
80,000 people generate their own electricity right from the ground. Join them today.
The Biden-Harris administration apparently intends to fully support the surrender and compliance of the U.S. to the UN in these endeavors. they are aligned with the international globalists that hate America, that hate the Constitution, that hate our founders, that hate our founding Judeo-Christian principles, and they want America.
And it's funny how he brings up how, America used to have Judeo-Christian principles. Well, all that stuff is completely done away with. Because all these things that our government is pushing forth goes against the Bible and goes against the Constitution, which is loosely based off of the Ten Commandments of the Scriptures. All these things goes against the Constitution of the law, which goes into, Daniel chapter 7 about Esau Edom changing the laws and the times. Always changing these laws and putting forth these unrighteous decrees that oppress their own citizens. This is the book of Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. Hey, because Esau Edom does not care about the Bible or the Constitution, man. When it comes down to it, this man is trying to these people are trying to take over the world. They don't care about the Bible or any of the ways of Yahweh Shema Shai. As a matter of fact, they want to get rid of it. They want to demonize it and the prophets that are teaching the Bible on those street corners. But this is the book of Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. Matter of fact, I started at verse 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another one shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue all these 3 kings. Verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints in the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion and consume and to destroy unto the end. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom of the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. So this is talking about the iron toes, which is mixed with the clay, which is talking about the revival of the Roman Empire. And what empire today is loosely based off of the Roman Empire? America, a.k.a. Babylon the Great. Because they follow the same playbook as the Roman Empire. This is the new Roman Empire, and this is the new Egypt, man. And they constantly are willing to change laws and completely do away with the Constitution in order to push that new world order.
America to become like the rest of the world. They don't want us to be subordinate to or governed by our Constitution. No, they want America to be subordinate to and governed by the UN, the World Health Assembly, and the WHO. And in fact, they intend to join with others at the UN summit this week to vote to award additional powers to the UN Secretary General. They seek to facilitate the evolution of the UN from an international cooperative body to an international governing body. These powers would be triggered by any one of a number of so-called global emergencies, whether it was a so-called climate emergency, a health emergency, a cyber emergency, or a gun violence emergency, whatever that's supposed to be, a financial emergency, or whatever they deem appropriate. And the Biden-Harris administration is in full agreement with the UN and the WHO on efforts to place us under their authority and to require such things as their international health regulations, including the surveillance of U.S. citizens, the censoring of dissenting views, and much more. The American people didn't vote for this, and they don't support this, and it's up to the people's representatives.
Right, because at the end of the day, the leaders of our people are causing them to err. All of these politicians and these presidents, behind closed doors, these people don't care about the rights of the people, which is why they're constantly bringing forth the idea of these foreign entities such as the United Nations, basically ruling over America and surveilling the American citizens, which goes against the Constitution. Because in no way should America allow a foreign, entity to have control over them and the decisions that they make. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 16. And it says, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. In the NLT it says, for the leaders of this people have mistreated them, they have led them down the path of destruction. So, these leaders have led our people down a path of destruction. And they choose to vote for them every year thinking that stuff is going to change when it's all going to lead to the same result.
That's us gathered here today to have a responsibility to expose this and to reject this. The U.S. should defund the WHO again. We should withdraw from the WHO. Any agreements with the WHO or the UN should require Senate approval or disapproval. And a bipartisan House majority voted to require Senate approval just last week with Tom Tiffany's bill on the House floor. So I'm proud to be joined here by my House colleagues and others who are appropriately concerned and educated, informed, and leading on this issue. Again, this is the most important issue that's getting the least amount of attention relative to its importance and its impact on our country and on the American people. And with that, I yield to the gentleman from South Carolina, Ralph Norman.
Thank you, Congressman Good. I want to thank Frank Gaffney, Tony Perkins, all my colleagues for taking a lead role in this. As Congressman Good said, this is probably, other than our financial crisis this country's in, the most important issue to call attention to. The Summit of the Future will happen on September 22nd, 23rd. And folks, what that will do is cede America's authority, America's sovereignty to basically China. China is defined as a developing country. It is the number 2 economy behind America. It's not developing. It will cede our decision-making ability to China. That's what you need to know. Let me read out what the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, his policy brief 2, issued on March of 2023. I propose that the General Assembly provide the Secretary General and the United Nations system with a standing authority to convene and operationalize automatically an emergency platform in the event of a future complex global shock of sufficient scale. Guess who determines that? The World Health Organization. It reveals.
So that means that America will have no say so in this future, global, economy that they're trying to make. America's citizens will have no say so in what will be done in the very near future if this program is allowed to come to fruition.
In their definition, a possible global shock, including large-scale climate or environmental events, determined by who? The Secretary General. Future pandemics. We all endured what the problem we had with the latest virus. High-impact events, involving a biological agent, determined by who? The World Health Organization. Disruption of global flows of goods, determined by who? Not America, but the WHO under the Secretary General. Not only that, it requires a 5% payment by the United States every year of our total medical dollars spent, which are in the trillions. Bottom line, we cannot let this go.
So this is allowed to go forth. The flow of goods and oils will all be going to UN, and America will have to pay 5% of that. So, the scriptures say that a nation divided by civil war will eventually fall. This is what Yahushua said, and we see this happening right now every single day. You got people, on TikTok and Instagram stressing about how these migrants are receiving 10,000 of food stamps or EBT cards, but they're still having to pay off debts. A nation divided by civil war will not stand. This is the book of Mark, chapter 3, in verse 23. And he called unto them and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand, right? A kingdom is supposed to be firmly a kingdom is supposed to be together, man. You have the king, you have the soldiers. And a kingdom is not supposed to be divided. And in the NLT, it says a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. There was a movie that came out earlier this year that was called Civil War. And in the trailer, you had these group of individuals that were out, in the wilderness. And a soldier with a gun told him, what kind of American are you? Basically saying, are you with the Constitution or are you with the Democrats? So a nation divided by civil war will eventually collapse. Verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but hath an end. And that end is fastly approaching. Babylon the Great, which is going to lead to people not listening to their princes and their presidents or politicians. Which lead me to the last scripture in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15. The book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, Woe to the world and to them that dwell therein. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people will stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men. Let's look up the word sedition. The word sedition means rebellion, uprising, revolt, a factitious commotion in the state, a concerted attempt to overthrow civil authority, violent strife between factions, a civil or religious disorder, not rebelliousness against authority. So there's going to be a lot of rebellion against authority because of systems like this being put in place in which America is surrendering itself under a foreign ally. Do you think that those Trump supporters that stormed the White House on January 6th of 2021, you think they're about to be okay with that? They're about to go out guns blazing over this, man. Because a country, a kingdom that has rebelliousness against authority and is divided by a civil war will not stand. Let me read this further to the bottom. Meaning conduct or language inciting to rebel against a lawful government. Early use, factious with turmoil, now chiefly engaged in promoting disaffection or inciting to revolt against constitution authority. And America is completely going against the Constitution that they set up back in the 1700s by allowing stuff like this to happen. Back to the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 15. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another with swords in their hands, man. And you're going to have a lot of people out here that are going to have machetes, that knives. It's not just going to be people shooting each other. There's going to be all kinds of chaos and violence, man, because people are going to lose their shit. They're going to completely crash out. Like these young people like to say today, crash out. That's what they call it. People are going to lose their minds because of systems like this being put in place. There was a video I seen on Instagram of this 100-year-old veteran that was crying, man, with tears flowing down his eyes, saying that this is not the country that I fought for. And he was 100% right. This is not the same country that America once fought for, that the American soldiers once fought for. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, in invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and all the courses of their actions shall stand in their power. It said they shall not regard their kings nor princes. So people already hate Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because they're basically, what they're doing right now by letting these migrants come over the border is literally treason. Both of them should be arrested for treason according to the American law. But it says people will not regard their kings nor princes, and the courses of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to, which is going into what? The slamdemics and the lockdowns. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of a lack of bread and for great tribulation. And these are the times that we are now coming into. And Elder Malcolm, our beloved Elder Malcolm has been saying it almost every week. We may not make it to the election. All hell may break loose before the election happens. And more than likely, our government more than likely wants that to happen so they can bring in this new world order. And you best believe when those lights come back on that the real MOTB, not sin and sleeping with the white woman, but the actual MOTB is going to be implemented when the lights come back on. And that is going to be the beginning of the new world order. So with that, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone J. Messer rule well. Shalom and Kwam Yasharallah and Abad Babal.